Welcome to episode 63 with myself, Chris Hume, the legend, my mutual co-host, Don Maguire, and our person of interest today is none other than the president of BYB, Mike Vazquez. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, Mike, I'm gonna jump in here real quick because there's something I want the world to kind of know. You know, when I first met you, it was down in Biloxi, Mississippi. And I had you on my show previous to that. And I honestly went down to Biloxi, Mississippi to find an issue with the promotion, find something wrong with the promotion. In my 37 years in this industry, I walked into an event that was already set up the day before, ready to go. What I found was a promoter that cared about the fighters, fed them constantly, had meals rotating in and out all day long, every day for the fighters, had drinks, everything, gave out your shirts. And then it dawned on me, Mike Vazquez doesn't even charge to watch his fights on the internet. And to be honest with you, I gained so much respect for you that day. And I didn't think it could get even higher. And I'm not trying to, to stroke you or give you an ego, but you sat there and flipped chairs, you wiped water, you put stickers on chairs. What is it about Mike Vazquez that has him being so genuine, so real, and so compassionate, not only to the fighters, but to the sport in general? Because like I said, in 37 years, I've never met a promoter that I liked. But I love Mike Vazquez.
Wow. Thank you for those kind words. I mean, my responsibility is to make sure that everything goes off smooth, that everybody has a good experience, and that not only the fans and the viewers at home, but that includes everybody who participates in our show, making sure everything's ready for the commission, making sure everything's ready for the fighters, our staff, production staff. People work better when they're happy, and usually food is part of that equation. So we make sure everybody's fed on time and has water and the drinks they need, and the fighters are taken care of as well. So that's all part of it, and then of course the fan experience. I do go through the venue as you saw, and I appreciate you helped me slide some chairs around as well. I go through the venue and I look at the spots from everywhere, every angle, every seat in the house. Is there anything I can move, slide to give them a better view, a better angle at the ring, no matter where the seats are? So I'll do a little bit of adjusting, and it's just part of the experience that we want everybody to walk out of there, saying, "Wow, it was a great time," and with no complaints or as little complaints, because something, the old saying, you can't make everybody happy all the time, but for the most part, people leave with smiles on their faces, have a good time, and I haven't heard any real complaints. So it's just part of my job.
Now, well, I'm gonna take it a little bit deeper, because not only did I sit in your post-production meeting and there was not one ego in the room, not one ego, as with your staff.
A lot of stuff in the combat world as well, so it's
yeah, these are all legends in the combat world, and not an ego one. I mean, when Mike created this team, there is no IRU in team, but I want to take you a little bit deeper, because this is what truly made me realize that you're not just a friend, you're my brother. I was out back of the venue, and me and a correlated friend with Mike, we were out there, and
yeah, I'm sorry, somebody was calling.
Me and a brother of Mike Vazquez, we were out back, and this lady came up to us, and she was kind of down. And so me and Mike's brother, we went up and talked to her, and because we're compassionate in life, we care about other individuals. And she brought up how she had brought her 12-year-old son adopted 12-year-old son to the event, and her and her husband had adopted this child. Well, right after they adopted the child, her husband had passed away. And it touched me and Mike's family, you know, so much that I went to Mike and he told me, "Hey, Don, you need to tell Mike what's going on." So I told Mike, and Mike said, "Don, go find that lady and bring all of them up in the corral." And so I went and I found her and her family and I brought them up in the corral. And not only did it make their night, but Mike took time out of his busy schedule, out of his busy night, to go over there and introduce himself and shake each and every one of their hands. And not only did he do that, he went through the crowd and he found veterans and brought them in the corral. Mike, I know you do it selflessly, but this is what I want people to understand. Life doesn't have to be about us. And a lot of times giving to others creates monumental moments, creates opportunities. Let's say, per se, that lady could have been on her soapbox, ready to commit suicide, you know, because of the loss of her husband. But what you did gave her hope. How, I know you don't take from that, but
Well,
what is it?
I live by the, you know, small things make a difference, right, in people's lives, and it could be as little as holding a door open for somebody, you know, that's 10 feet behind you, not immediately behind you, but just waiting that extra second, or you know, you see somebody in a jam trying to switch lanes, instead of speeding up and blocking them off, you know, cut them a slack, let them get into the lane. Little things go a long way, and they set people on the right mood, you know, moving forward. Like when somebody lets you in, that you're surprised that, wow, they actually flashed and they let me in. You're like, oh, wow, you know, and that may change your mood for the rest of the day. Whereas if they block you, you're pissed, and you're, you know, the next thing you know, you're doing road rage on somebody else, and you're passing it on that way. So I believe little things make a difference, and, you know, we're never too busy to do, you know, those little things for people, and you know, it's I've always said it's not about me. It's, you know, I do these interviews so people learn about our product and our fighting series and whatnot. But I mean, we've done 11 shows already. I don't come out in any of those shows. I don't come out speaking. It's not, you know, it's about the fighters. It's about the product. It's about BYB, and that's where my heart and soul is. And like I said, helping people along the way. And sometimes it's fighters, sometimes it's crew, sometimes it's fans, you know, and we love doing it.
But the reason I did this, you know me, you've watched my show before, you've been on my show. I like to set precedents.
Mhm.
And the precedence is that you're a genuine, real man. Okay. And in this industry, you're a rarity. And I know it's not about you. It's never been about you. But then there's a second aspect that I want to add before I hand it to Chris.
Mhm.
I watched BKB when you were over at O2.
Mhm.
And then I watched preceding interviews. And yesterday or the day before, I even watched another interview with a gentleman from that said promotion.
Mhm.
And you're a man after my own heart, bro, because I always whelp about the days when a handshake and a man's word had value. Mike Vazquez still lives in those days. Mike Vazquez still does business that way. You know, brother, you're a breath of fresh air. What did it mean for you to be able to create an over the pond experience for Bareknuckle via handshake?
Well, I mean, going even back to my NASCAR days, you know, a lot of those deals were handshake deals. You know, most of them, you know, were handshake deals, and you know, thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, flying around. But when you deal with good people, you know, you can rely on that. You have to have an understanding, right? It might be just a bullet point email that everybody agrees to or something like that. But you know, when people are you know, are known to keep their word, you can do stuff like that, right? With the BKB guys, same thing. You know, there's paperwork only delays things, right? When you're starting to do stuff, and sure, you want to dot your I's and cross your T's, but when you feel comfortable with somebody, and I did. Jim and Joe are generally good people. You know, they had a great time my first time over there, and sitting with them, we see things the same way. We want to put well-matched fights out there, exciting fights for the fans, continue to elevate the sport. And if you look at BKB, their last show, 26, and compare it to their, first 5 or 6 or 10 shows, you'll see that growth in their product as well as if you go back to BYB, 1, 2, 3, or 4, and you go through the last, 5 or 6 shows, you'll see that growth as well. So, we're like-minded. We started with a base. We're all putting our own money into the product. Nobody's making money. Like I think Jim said the other day, nobody is making money, but we're building something. And usually a business, there's a break-even analysis, right? In most businesses, it'll take 2 or 3 years to break even. That's your target zone, is to get it done before 3 years. Some businesses take a little longer, especially where they're speculative or you're creating something new. For example, the NASCAR stuff that I did, we got our team up and running, but the whole goal was to get drivers, Hispanic and African American drivers, through the program so they can get wins in the sprint cut level. Not only the feeder series. Well, it took 20 years to get a Hispanic driver his win at the sprint cup level. It happened 2 weeks ago with Daniel Suarez. African American driver last year, Bubba Wallace got a win. So it takes a while to get stuff like that, to get your dream through to reality. But you can have a lot of fun along the way, and that's what we did in NASCAR, and same thing with BYB. Our dream is not yet fulfilled. We're there, we're growing, we have a great thing, but our dream really is to make it a staple in the combat world. To make it a known entity in the mainstream, and not only the combat world, fan base. So we're far away from that yet, but we are working every day towards that.
Is it fair to say, sorry, Chris, but is it fair to say that both promotions are more for the fighter than they are for themselves? Because that's what I see. I see 2 promotions that put the fighters up here, but yet the promotion stays right here. And this is strange for me, because like I said, I've been in this industry for 37 years. I've never met a man like you. Generally I cuss promoters out, but I love you, bro. I mean, you're what the sport needed 37 freaking years ago. With that being said, I'm gonna toss it over to Chris, but that's real, man. We needed you 37 years ago, bro.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, it luckily, and the same is for Jim and Joe. Fortunately, we don't live off the combat, world promotions. It's something that we had a passion in, and we're building, but we don't have to pull money out of it. We continue to invest. Fortunately, we don't have to, because there's no money to pull out of it, But eventually, of course, it is a business, and you do want to grow the business, and you need to make money to continue to grow, so you can stop the the bleeding and putting the money in. But fortunately, because we don't live off of it, and we're lucky to have other businesses that can not only feed our families but fuel our companies. We take it in that way. If we had to live off this business, we would have definitely had to trim. We wouldn't be able to do the productions that we're doing. We wouldn't be able to put them free on YouTube to get as large an audience as we can, continue to be exposed to the product. So that's a big factor, and it's I bet a lot of promoters aren't in that situation. They want to turn in to make that fast dollar, or to make some revenue stream steady, even if it's smaller. They just need it. We're actually growing for a bigger picture.
Amen. Chris?
First and foremost, I want to ask, obviously, how you fell into the sport of bare knuckle, but I have to ask about the ring. When you had a couple of fighters from bare knuckle, I asked a question about the trigon, because it really intrigues me. How did the sort of the idea of that come about? And just explain how it come about, and what the fighters feel when they're first time stepping in that kind of, so I'd say oddly shaped, because I'm not used to seeing that. I'm used to a ring. I'm used to an octagon. Something
Sure.
That's a lot of space. So what the process of having that type of ring?
Well, it started. Dota had actually experimented with a triangle ring. For the most part, he did a square in the backyard. Most of the fights you see on his YouTube from back in the day are square ring. towards the end, he did a triangle ring. It wasn't 3 equal sides. It was actually very pointed, and he real tight, and I saw that in one of the videos. And as a company, you want to differentiate yourself, right? You want to have things that make you stand out, because otherwise a ring is a ring is a ring, and 2 fighters in a ring, or you can put those 2 fighters in the same square ring in 5 different promotions, and it's the same fight. So what would differentiate ourselves? Much like the UFC when they created their octagon and patented, trademarked, and did their thing, and it became a staple, right? You see that, it's the UFC. Even if they don't put their logo on it, it's the UFC. We wanted to do something like that, and I had seen that design from Dota, but I knew it wasn't going to work unless it was 3 equal sides. So we started just playing with that, and we came up with the dimensions that would work, that give you just enough room to work, but no room to run. And that's what we try to pitch. And our fighters, when before they step into the ring, they're like, intimidated because it's tight. Some guys love it because, hey, my guy's not going to be able to run. My opponent won't be able to run from me. I can, use my body, push him into a corner and finish him quickly. They think that, but then once they get in there, it's a different story. But once they do step in there, they actually say, wow, it's bigger than I thought. It's actually, I can move around in here and I can get some work done. So for us, it was to make us different. But at the same time, we realized once we did that the triangle ring not only creates the smallest corners in combat sports, or 60-degree corners. You can't get smaller than 60-degree corners without one of the corners being, an irregular shaped triangle. So it's the smallest corners in combat sports, the smallest square footage also, but it does give them enough room to get some work done.
I just find it intriguing. I started obviously more looking into this, meeting Don and sort of differentiating myself, not just watching MMA all the time. Bareknuckle is big over here, but not as big as most people think. So it's good that like you say, you've got BKB over here, and you're putting them together and making it like it's like a super group, really, isn't it? For Bareknuckle, and then like I say, I'm going back to the Trigon, when I saw that for the first time, and I was just like, this is crazy. But I liked it because you bring in like fantastic fights, because people are having to go at you now, because like you say, in the octagon or ring, you can run around circle and sort of get away from your opponent. But in a triangle ring, there isn't much maneuvering of trying to completely circle out the way and trying to stay away from someone, and that's why you obviously end up with such fantastic fights and some really brutal KOs in it. But yeah, it's great that you've differentiated yourself from other combat sports, because now people like myself who are now looking into BYB and BKB are immediately going into that and looking at that ring and going, this intrigues me, and that's what pulled me in. Yeah,
makes the fighters meet at the middle, right? They meet in the middle and they fight in the middle, because they know they can take a step back, they can take 2 steps sideways, but if they take more than that, they're going to end up into one of those tight corners. So the guys do end up usually meeting in the middle. We always tell the fighters never leave it in the hands of the judges, because judges sometimes don't get it right, and we've seen that. Most of our fights, like 90% of them, finish by KO or knockout, but those rare ones that end in the hands of the judges, you never know. We had a fight, our championship fight in Mississippi, could have easily gone to the hometown girl. And when I got into the ring before they announced the decision, I didn't know what the decision was. I was under the impression that the hometown girl was going to get the win. I think she did enough. I think Patty wasn't as sharp as she normally was. And Monica Medina had done enough to earn the victory. And then you put in hometown judges. It's a no-brainer, right? And then it came back split decision against her. I was surprised. So, same thing. We're going to run that fight back. And we tell everybody, if you leave it to the judges, that's what you can get. That's what you can get. I know on the UK side, we had Tegan fight. Tegan Dooley fought somebody in BKB. It went the distance. And he, as the visitor, got the split decision. which was also, I expected, I thought it was a good fight. I thought he had done enough to win the fight, but I figured, hometown judge, they're going to give it to, the hometown guy. And it was a split decision in his favor. So, this last fight, I don't know if you saw BKB 26, Holmes and Chad Kelly, was a 7-round war, no knockdowns. They just went at it continuously. I think Holmes had the first few rounds. Kelly came on strong, and Holmes got gassed at the end. I was surprised Holmes was still on his feet, to be honest with you. And that ended up with a draw, which I don't think anybody in the room was unpleased with, because when two guys go at it that hard, it's hard to say there was a loser of that fight. So, even though both guys would have liked to have walked away with the win, even the audience didn't boo when they said draw. So that's when that they got that one right, I think. But we're going to run that one back too, because that was a great fight for an international belt, and it ends in a draw. Imagine that.
Yeah, see, that's the lovely thing about this, man. Because I'm enthralled in Bareknuckle, and a lot of people say, Don, are you going to Bareknuckle? It's just, this is one of the few promotions, your promotion. I've already dealt with BKB in the past, as far as interviewing and things like this, but that was the tone that was set this week. Was they don't want to see that belt on a plane coming to the United States. The United States wants to see that belt come here. But that's the tremendous thing. Not only did two promotions come together on a handshake, but now it's created this certain thickness in the air, this third ambition with these fighters. Who can create this? Who can bring this home? Who can accomplish this? And it's created a friendly rivalry, which is unremarkable in these days and times in this sport. Mike, I want to take you back to Biloxi, Mississippi.
Mm-hmm.
I had Laurent T. Smash Nelson, who you just signed to a multi-fight contract. Hey, my brother from Canada, what's up, bro? Tremendous signing, by the way, because he was the XFN champion, been in the sport a long time, put on a hell of a war.
Mm-hmm.
But when he was on my show, he said, brother, I saw the Trigon when I walked in. It kind of intimidated me. He said, I got into it. And he said, it's bigger than it looks. He goes, but I'll tell you what, you back up into those corners, and the only way you're going to get out is to fight your way out.
Yeah.
And he said, those corners are so deep, but the whole event was like clockwork. Even though, like you said, don't let it go to the judges. I remember a fight that I shot with Beth Correia and Marion Renault in Brazil. And Beth lost the fight in my eyes and everybody's eyes, but because it went to the judges and you're in Brazil, she got the win over Marion Renault. And that just really, so first and foremost, as a promoter, and you got one of the best matchmakers in the business in Mel Valenzuela. So I think it's proper. I think it's righteous for this promotion to run these back, because Chris, they were truly wars, bro. I mean, I don't know if you got to see the event, but neither one of these girls gave an inch. And that's the one thing I like about what the Trigon creates. Like you said, it creates a war. There's no reason. I mean, you sign up to want to fight, but you step in the Trigon and you gotta fight. There's no other way around it. So Mike, you look at Biloxi, that was your 10th show.
Mm-hmm.
The world is starting to take BYB to heart. They're starting to say it's one of the best growing promotions in this aspect of the sport. I have to agree with them. I'm not a yes man. I call it like I see it. I don't care if anybody likes me or dislikes me, because you don't pay my bills and you don't live underneath my roof, so I can really give two craps about what anybody thinks about me, But what you created was tremendous. And see, I want people, you already know this story, but I kind of want to share it with the people of the UK, because I want people to understand you a little bit better. You didn't have to do this. You didn't have to create BYB. You had NASCAR Mexico. You're the fourth largest tobacco distributor in the world, and you've got other things going for you. You're a successful man. But you went to a brother of mine that I met through Kimbo Slice many, many years ago, and that being Dota. And you helped him bring his dream to the forefront. Now, I know the behind the scenes story, and I know your retributes and aspects that played in this a prevalent role in this story, but let the people of the United Kingdom and the world understand that moment between you and Data 5000 and what led to today.
Well, it ties back to my time in NASCAR Mexico, where I actually, before there was a NASCAR Mexico, I went to NASCAR about their international growth, which they had been focusing on Japan and doing events over there. So I showed them that there was a huge market in Mexico that already buy American vehicles, a lot of trucks, and Chevy and Ford has plants there. And there's also, a couple 20, 30 million Mexicans here in the United States. So why were they wasting their time and energy trying to market in Japan, where there's high tariffs on American cars? Most people don't even have them, when they had that audience right here just south of our border. So I started working with NASCAR to develop NASCAR Mexico, and that grew significantly. It became the #1 series in Latin America. And through that process and living here in Miami, over the years, I had run into the celebrity, singer Pitbull, who was a local guy here. Of course, Mr. 305, before he became Mr. Worldwide, Mr. 305. So I hung out with him a few times over the years here in the United States, in South Florida, I should say. Run into him at a party or at a bar or this or that. Over the years, we became friendly. And in 2008, I think it was 2008, I was actually in Mexico City. I had missed the flight because we had partied a little too hard the night before, and was diverted to another airport. And I'm just hanging out, waiting for my flight. And sitting right across from me, he's a guy that looked identical to Pitbull, all by himself, just identical to Pitbull. And I'm sitting there hungover going, nah, this can't be, Mexico City by himself. And a couple stewardesses ran over and asked him, for a picture. And he got up and he took their picture and he sat back down. And I looked at him and he knew me as NASCAR Mike. So I'm like, Armando? And he looks up and I says, it's NASCAR Mike. So we were like, oh, geez, we started talking again and whatnot. He had since changed his number, so we didn't have our new contact information, and we exchanged information. And that week he called me and let's go have dinner, and we started hanging out. And I met Jose Sirius, who's my partner in BYB. He worked with Pitbull. He was part of his marketing and team and whatnot, new product development and marketing. So we hit it off. And the more, we did some stuff for Pitbull in Mexico and NASCAR, and he helped us with our team in NASCAR as well. So he knew about my NASCAR Mexico relationships. And one day out of the blue, Jose calls me and says, hey, I got something I want to show you. Maybe it's for you, maybe it's not. So he came to my office and he showed me some of Dota's, backyard fights. And I said, yeah, I've seen these. These are awesome. What's the gist of it? And he says, well, basically they're shut down now. The state of Florida clamped down finally, and they can't do any more events in the backyard, or people are going to start going to jail. And so would you be interested in trying to work on this? So I said, listen, I think it's gritty. I think it's a diamond in the rough. Obviously, it needs to be polished quite a bit. But I love it. I go, the only real thing I need to do is I need to meet Dota. I don't do business with just anybody, and like I said, a lot of our deals are just handshake deals. And so I need to see what this guy's about. And do we sync, for business? Because, you just see videos and you see a guy there, in the middle of the backyard with a bunch of people pounding on each other. You're like, well, can we get along? We both love the same thing, but can we get along? So we set up a dinner here at a place called Monty's on the Bay in Coconut Grove. Late afternoon, sat around. We ate plate of shrimp. I mean, it was a huge plate like this. When that one was finished, he ordered another one, and we sat there literally for hours, getting to know each other, talking about the ring, and I can tell you that very night we drew our logo, as you see it there, on the paper. I wish I had it. I think Pepe might have it. Jose might have it, but we drew the logo. We said we're going to go with a triangle ring. We discussed, the differentiation. We didn't have the exact footage yet, but we knew it was going to be a triangle ring, 3 equal sides, and we hit it off great. So from that day, that was actually October of 2014. By November, we had graphic artists already doing our logos. We had our trademarks start going into place, trademarks and copyright our logos. We had incorporated our company. We started all the foundation of building a company. And then we started planning our first event, which was supposed to be on a cruise ship, believe it or not. And we had a contract with a cruise line that left Miami, and we were going to put our ring on the top deck of the cruise ship and have fights on the cruise ship as it was on its way to the Bahamas. Spend 2 days in the Bahamas and then have fights on the way back. Because at that time in 2015, Bareknuckle was not legal anywhere. Had to be on sovereign land, but none of the native properties were really, interested in doing anything of that sort yet, or on international waters. So we actually went the international waters route. We licensed, or we trademarked BYB Battleship. The fight's actually available on our YouTube channel, and you'll see a little Battleship logo on there and all that. So that was our first event, our first foray in combat sports. And immediately after that, that was actually timed with the release of the movie Dogfight 1, that was #1 on Netflix for like 8 weeks in a row. Based on the movie, based on that fight, we got contacted by Bellator about, the possibility of Dota and Kimbo fighting. So that is how, we kind of stopped BYB for the moment to focus on that opportunity for Dota. And that happened in 2016, of course, in February, but that conversation started in end of October, really. End of October, I think beginning of November, they asked us to come to an event in St. Louis where Dota walked out of behind the stage, as the surprise opponent for Kimbo at Bellator 148. And everybody remembers that fight. It was actually the #1 fight for Bellator. We were the co-main event with Royce Gracie and Shamrock, but viewership peaked at the Dota Kimbo fight. All the social media was record for Bellator. It was a huge fight, and unfortunately, both men were really sacrificed themselves during that fight, and Dota unfortunately fell in the 3rd round on his own potassium buildup poisoning from his unfortunate big weight cut. He went from over 305 pounds to 265 in 3 months. Which is not easy for a big fellow like that. That's been that weight and was used to carrying that weight around. And unfortunately, that sharp weight cut, affected him. And then of course Kimbo passed away just maybe a month or 2 after the fight as well. And he needed it. He was taken out of the venue in a wheelchair from same thing, overexhaustion. I know some people will, say it was the worst MMA fight ever or whatever, but it wasn't supposed to be an MMA fight. It was supposed to be a brawl by 2 street fighters. And, and that's what it was for a few moments throughout. But, the referee on that event was Big John. In the first round, Dota came out, and he physically was bigger than Kimbo. I think he outweighed him by 30 pounds. So he went to put his weight on him and threw a kick and took Kimbo to the fence and was elbowing. And when Kimbo, obviously knowing that the ground game was his, better, he was going to have better ground game than Dota, took Dota to the ground. But we had worked with Dota on his ground game as well. And one of his go-to moves, because he is such a big and strong guy, was basically wrap Kimbo up, keep him close to you, and don't let him get off on you. If you go to the ground, hold him, and if there's no action, what does the referee do? He stands you up. So that was the game plan. And if you look at round one, Dota comes out, same thing. In my opinion, and you can hear the boos, and I was one of those, booing the referee. He left him on the ground for 2.5 minutes doing nothing. Just Dota holding on to Kimbo being squeezed by Dota. I think that gassed him. If they would have stood up right away and got back to swinging, again, nobody even thought that fight was going to get out of the first round. Everybody was saying, oh, Dota's going to get knocked out in a round. Kimbo's too good. It went 3 rounds. And at one point, Kimbo was on all fours and Dota was over him. And he's hitting him with the back of his hand because he couldn't even make a fist of that's when the referee stands him up and Dota leans against the cage. Kimbo throws a couple punches. Dota throws a couple punches. And in one of those, he goes forward and he falls down. He face plants on the mat. And that's where he broke his orbital bone, was when he landed on the mat. And he was done. It wasn't even a punch that got him. It was his body just depleted. But, it was just it could have been a big night for Dota if he would have been able to close that win on Kimbo, got on the world scene that way. But it wasn't in the cards. Things are meant to happen for a reason, for whatever reason, I don't know. But I still think, those two guys were warriors. They put it out there, and it should have been more of a brawl than a regular MMA match. And just the referee, let it go that way.
I'm sorry for shedding a tear. I mean, to the people in the UK, if you don't know, I was Kimbo Slice's photographer for his last 11, 12 fights. I was there at the night that Mike's speaking of. Those two men created this sport. Those two men respected each other. And, it was just recently the anniversary of Kimbo's death. And it plays heavy in my heart because if you know me, I don't give two shits about me. I give 110% about every fighter. I don't care if I like you or not. I'm going to protect every fighter. And being able to be in Biloxi and sit down with Dada and have a conversation, it was beautiful, to be able to share our thoughts, our processes, and our moments and our attributes towards what we feel was a great man in Kimbo Slice. But I want the world to know that Dada was just as much as prevalent in creating Bareknuckle as Kimbo was. Kimbo gets a lot of the praise, but Dada was there just as long, put in just as much work, and fought just as hard. But see, the beautiful thing that nobody in this world knows, you see what you see on TV and you see what you see in interviews, but you take these two men to the side and what you find are two of the most gentle, kind-hearted giants that you will ever freaking meet. I mean, Dada's just a big teddy bear, and it's like, I'm glad that this correlated for you, Mike, because it gave hope to a man. It rebuilt a sport from the backyard that was taken away, and you're doing it right. It's just like I said before, and I'll say it again. I don't think this was a plan by design by human intervention. I think this was a plan by design by a greater cause and a greater purpose. And I think all of you, from Benny Ricardo to Claudia Trejo to Mike Goldberg to just everybody that's encapsulated in this organization, are just some of the most humble, but yet the biggest names in this sport. And I think this promotion was meant to be from start to where it's at now. I mean, there's no denying it. I mean, I will admit, I'm one of the biggest assholes in this sport. If you mess with the fighters, I will rip your balls off and shove them down your throat. And I'm not afraid to say so. But I love what you guys are doing, bro. And I know it's supposed to be Chris's show, so I'm going to let him have the mic. But I just want people to know that you're just not some promoter coming up here blowing smoke up everybody's ass. You genuinely care. You genuinely are the real freaking deal. And I think the world needs to know it. I really do. And it's not just you. When I say you, I mean from you to your partner to everybody that's a part of this organization.
It's the culture that we want to permeate, throughout the organization, throughout the, for example, when we hired Paulie, Malinaji, and first thing I told him is, I want you to be yourself. Same thing with Mike and Benny. I want you guys to enjoy what you're doing. I don't want you to sugarcoat it. I don't want you to be yes men, company men. I mean, we've all seen promotions, events, whether it's fighting, whether it's something else, where the commentators are telling you what a great product you're seeing. Meanwhile, it's garbage. And it could be a team, it could be an individual, a fight, it could be anything, that's just not going right. But they're telling you what a great fight it is, and if it's not a great fight, say it's not a great fight. I want people at home to feel that they're getting 100% what Paulie is thinking, what Mike is thinking. Those are the experienced people that know the ins and outs of everything, and we want their knowledge to go through. So, have there been fights where Paulie giggles and says this guy's footwork isn't right? Look at it, this guy's gonna get clobbered, and boom, it happens, because of his experience, So, hey, Paulie, if it's wonderful, say so. If it's not, and they look at me and they smile, they enjoy that freedom, because in a lot of places, I mean, Paulie's going to be Paulie anyways. Sometimes it'll get him in trouble, I guess. But I told him it's not going to get you in trouble here. We don't believe that. We want you guys to have fun, because it goes through the camera, and it comes to the people at home, and it makes you at home feel like you're that fourth man at that desk, right? That you're just having a conversation, that they're having a conversation, a private conversation that they're including you on, right? So that's kind of the feel we want for the broad. We want the people at home to say, these guys didn't hold any punches. Yeah, that guy's footwork was great. Yeah, this guy has skill. Yeah, that guy maybe not so much. Back to the drawing board. That's kind of the real thought process that we want to go through to the people at home.
Yeah, that's dope, Chris.
Do you want to read this out, Don?
It says, I'm really enjoying this show. Never a dull moment on a BYB card. That's my boy Nate Rand, a boxer from California and also a professional photographer. He's actually at Julio Cesar Chavez's house right now.
Oh, okay.
Is he? Nice.
Yeah.
Mike, I want to go back to I don't know, just be quiet. I want to go back to the cruise ship. That's just a crazy idea. And if you do it again, I'd like a ticket, please. Because if I get off this shitty, boring, cold-ass country and go somewhere a bit warm, I need a ticket, please. But how did that idea come about? Like, did you envision when you're sitting there in your office or your home, you've got the guys around you and you're discussing this idea? Is this like, you think sometimes this is a bit mad, or it's like, fuck it, just go for gold and just do it?
Oh yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. Listen, you don't know what you don't know what you can do unless you try, right? And when I said NASCAR Mexico, and I went to Mexico for the first time to pitch NASCAR Mexico, I got laughed at. 8 out of 9, places I went to. Oh, NASCAR. Oh, that's for the gringos. Oh, no, we like open wheel. Oh, no. So I mean, but then look at it today. So the same thing. I mean, for me, it really clicked for me. Not only was it gritty, not only was it exciting, not only was it different. I thought there was a younger audience, and it's been a few years. I'm not that young anymore, but a younger audience that wasn't coming on to boxing anymore. A younger audience that maybe, like I love MMA, but at the same time, even though I used to wrestle in high school and I can appreciate some of the wrestling and the jiu-jitsu that's involved and the grappling and all that, everybody likes to see the striking. You know, that's what people like to see. They like, you know, you want to see a knockout more than you want to see a submission, unless you're neck deep into jiu-jitsu, you know, and then you love a nice clean submission, which, like I said, they're great. But the majority of the audience, right? So if you want to pool and grow a fan base, and much like we had to in NASCAR Mexico, we had to grow a fan base and create a new one. You want to get what's most attractive to the fan base, right? In NASCAR, it's the accidents. I mean, that's what it is. It's the accidents. It's the cars catching, you know, it's spinning and whatnot. And in combat sports, it's the knockouts. So, you know, it goes back to boxing. When are fans on their toe to toe, you know, or on their feet? When the fighters are engaged toe to toe, right? Once they get their hugging and the referee splits them apart, that they're back in the middle of the ring, that's when people get back on their feet because they're going to slug it out. In MMA, two guys are on the ground and they've been there for 45 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes, whatever it is. When the referee says, "All right, get up," what do the fans do? They cheer because they're back to toe to toe. So that's kind of the feel that we wanted to, you know, to the vibe that we wanted to put. The other thing is with smartphones, you know, in the last 2 decades, our attention span has gone to nothing. Right? I mean, we're easily distracted. A tweet, text can take us off of what we were fully concentrated on to something else. Before you know it, 5 minutes later, you forgot what you were focused on so it's just that nature. So, you know, 10, 12 round fights where boxers are trying to pad their records, protect their records. So they're not going for the knockouts. They're going for the touches. They're going to win rounds, right? So they're looking to win rounds. You see it even in open scoring. When a fighter knows, hey, I'm up 4 rounds to, you know, or 6 rounds to 3, it's the 10th round. There's no way he can beat me. They just run around because they know that they're going to win the decision. Why risk getting caught, right, with a knockout punch or something? So that's kind of what we wanted to do, was eliminate all that and force the action and get the results back in the hands of the fighter. So time span, you know, we wanted shorter fights that produced more knockouts, and the ring has something to do with that. The bare knuckle has something to do with that. In an era like football, you know, the quarterback, you can't even touch a quarterback here. American football, I should say. You know, everybody's protected now. The running backs, you know, they can't lower their head. You can't hit a receiver when he's stretched out for a ball. All the stuff that made football great, you know, you can't do it anymore. Here in your football, soccer, children under, I hate to say it's 16 or 14 or 12, one of those ages, they're not allowed to head the ball because they don't want kids.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. So, but you're also right with that though, because in professional football over in the UK, you can't tackle like you would do back in the 90s, 80s to any player now. They've calmed that down as well.
Yeah. So in an era where everybody's looking at protecting the athlete, right, protecting the head from concussion, whether it's in baseball where now they have to wear these batting, helmets that are much bigger than the old school. In the old time, they just used to have a regular plastic cap. Now they got the ear protected and all that stuff. Football, the pads, the helmets are getting more padding. The rules are getting children's soccer. All that has changed. But combat sports continues to allow to pad the hands with 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 ounces, whatever it is, so they can hit the head more often. And that's what we're like, doesn't make sense to me. Let's go back. Let's go back to the origins of the sport, even the origins of the UFC, where it was bare knuckle, where you can't throw as many punches to the head. They have to be really sharp punches. You can't be throwing wild punches. It's got to be more of a tactical fight. I mean, you can, but you run the risk of hurting your hand if you're just throwing wild punches. Bare knuckle is all about being tight, straight shots, just stunning your opponent, and then coming in for the quote unquote kill. So that's kind of what we were trying to do is, and we've been showing it. We work with boxing commissions, and we work with even the British Medical Association a few decades ago put out a study where it said, yeah, because it's less punches thrown with less force for less rounds, less minutes, and a less total number of punches, bare knuckle is safer than regular boxing. You know, Dr. What is this? Love, one of the big fight doctors here in the States, said the same thing. Now, he added a caveat saying, well, we don't know about the internal damages for body shots. So he's being politically correct for the, face it. Boxing promoters didn't like it when MMA came around, right? Because it took a lot of fans in that.
It took revenue.
Right.
Took revenue.
Here comes bare knuckle guys, Now boxing or MMA, they don't want us around because now the pie gets further split. What we're trying to do is grow the pie, right? So it's a bigger pie. There's more fans involved, fans that maybe didn't like MMA. There are going to be crossover fans in every direction, but maybe we can work together to grow the pie instead of fight over the existing pie. And that's something that we did in Mexico with NASCAR. We actually made a pie, and grew that pie so that everybody could participate.
Mike, what my last synopsis of the show, and then I'll let Chris finish up, is what you're trying to do is not go to war with anybody, but create a sport where everybody can sit down, no matter what genre, create an aspect of where everybody can sit at the same table and eat the same amount of food. You're not trying to displace anybody from the sport. You're helping grow the sport, and you want everybody to come together and everybody benefit from it.
Sure.
And see, that's a selfless individual. My last statement before I let Chris kind of go and do his thing was, I know you've seen my snippets lately that I've let out. And one of the most beautiful people that you have that work for you is Big Serge Estrada. I took him from the field where he was a combat medic to where he always had death around his life from a young childhood. And now he calls the fighters his warriors, his troops. It's a man that genuinely cares about his fighters. This is a man that was cut man of the year for the last 4 years straight. What you are doing, you're cherry picking, and you're picking the greatest aspects of all genres of the sport, and you're correlating one of the greatest teams that any other promotion has ever done. And that's a beautiful thing, because the relevance that you're going to leave, the mark that you're going to leave on history for what BYB is doing for these fighters is second to none. And I'm not kissing your ass, because if you were screwing up, I would tell you were screwing up.
Sure.
But you know what? You're a tremendous man, and your thought processes are tremendous. You continue to do what you're doing, brother, because the world needs more. I'm not going to say Mike Vazquez's, because it's a team. At the end of the night, it takes everybody from across the pond and from here to make everything happen. Keep creating greatness, my brother, because like I said, after 37 years in the business, I can't find a thing you've done wrong. I've never heard a bad word about you. And that's a rarity in itself in this sport. So you're obviously doing something right. So with that being said, hey, brother, it's always an honor and a privilege for me to get to talk to you, even though I can't on the daily. But I'm going to let this young, talented bloke from the UK wrap up the show. And you got 6 minutes left, bro. You better make your money's worth.
Cheers. Just pile on the pressure for me, please. Thanks. I still want that cruise, though, Mike. Please make that happen again. I wanted to quickly now, before obviously we wrap up, is how did yourself and BKB came about, and how did it come about? Sorry, how was it? Was it something that you knew about them before, or did you know the people that were involved with BKB for you to obviously to come together with BYB?
Well, you know what? When we started, we actually spoke with the other bare knuckle company here in the States that was also just trying to get going. We tried to work together with them to grow the sport, and figure it's a big country. It's a big state of Florida. There's several other states. There's a big calendar. We can work together, rotating dates and whatnot, and opening. I can work on governments in certain states. He can work on governments in other states, and we can work together. That was the plan. That was the conversation. Unfortunately, the backstabbing happened really early, and we learned that certain people can't be dealt with. At that early time, I had seen that BKB had some conversations or was doing something, was trying to get something going with this group here in the States as well. So I kind of stayed at a distance. I watched what they were doing. I loved what they were doing. I figured what they're doing in the UK is only going to help it open up in other countries as well. But over the course, I think it was in under COVID, when they had to stop their shows and we stopped our shows for a little bit of time, we just started chit-chatting a little bit on social media. Message each other, got to know each other, speak a little bit, and just got to know the guys and saw that they were like-minded, same thing. They weren't living off this. They were just trying to build. We had, a lot of things in common. And we said, hey, let's try this out. Send me one or two of your guys. I'll send you one or two of my guys. And let's see how this works out. It should be fun, should be exciting. In an ideal world, you'll get your wins, we'll get our wins, and let the best fighters, develop. It's only going to improve our fighter quality and grow the fighter pool. It rewards the fighters as well, because we got our guys. Some of our guys have never left the country. Some of your guys have never left the country. So now they're traveling to Miami or Tampa or Biloxi or somewhere to fight internationally in front of a rival. And our guys are, flying to the UK and spending a week in London and hearing Sweet Caroline and all the beautiful things. So the fighters love it. I've been to already 3 events, BKB events. I'll be back in our next event. We're having a BYB event, so we're taking our Trigon to the UK on October 16th. We'll have those tickets. There you go. We'll have those tickets on sale probably in the next week or 10 days. And we've just continued to grow. They're going to bring their ring over here for a show. We've got a few dates panned out in early 2023. And we'll be making that announcement as well. So it's just going to continue to grow. Now we got world championship fights between both organizations. And I think it's a great way to get back to the fighters and the fans. And Joe and I are having a great time doing it.
The reason I brought this out, I don't know if y'all could see that. Mike has. This is signed by everybody on the BYB staff. And it was a treasured moment, Mike. It was a treasured moment. I got to sit right next to Paulie Malignaggi, Benny, Goldberg, and it was a beautiful moment to have Benny go, Paulie, this guy is a fucking warrior. He's been through 246 surgeries. He says, I don't want to hear you complain anymore. Take our fucking picture. And the thing about it is, you talk about Paulie, and Bill Clancy was telling me this the other day. We were kind of chatting up about it. But you got to think where Paulie's from. Not only does he have a boxing persona because he was great in boxing, but he's from New York. He's got that Jamaican Queens kind of attitude. And what I'm getting at, Chris, is there's certain people like us, we don't mean to get up in your feelings, but we're black and white. And we tell it exactly how it is, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. Paulie is exactly that type of guy, but he has the heart of a million people. And you really got to get to know him to understand this. It might seem like a certain kind of quirky arrogance, but that's just Paulie. But if you get to know the man, then you'll absolutely love the man. And Benny, with his jokes, oh my God. that guy, but I just love everything about your staff, dude. Because
he tries all his material on us. Because he's Benny is what do you call a Renaissance man, right? So he's a boxing broadcaster. He does football games. He's a inventor, investor, and he also does stand-up comedy. So, Benny will be hitting me with jokes all the time. Like he tries his material out on us because he knows that we're going to give him an honest feedback. If we laugh, if it's funny, if we don't funny, we go, oh, Benny, but most of the time he cracks us up. But, absolutely. And Paulie, like you said, Paulie's the real deal. All our people, it goes back to the truth you'll never forget. A lie, you'll be thinking, what did I tell this person? What's the story? So if you come out with the truth, sometimes it's pretty, sometimes it's not, but that's what we're about.
Hey, my grandfather always told me if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember the lie. And Chris took away a comment, and it's from a young fighter, but he said that's what he said. There is not 1 ounce of bullshit with Don McGuire.
Yeah.
And I don't care if I get all up in your feelings. I really don't. If you don't want to know the truth, don't freaking ask me.
No, that's what
You'd be treasured. You'd be treasured over here in the UK because that's all as Brits do to each other is get up in each other's feelings. In my house, it's my house the same. I've got 2 girls and a boy. If my Lily, who's 10, she's sweet. She hasn't got the gist of banter yet. But when she starts to get like, I don't like this, it's getting a bit upset. Like, hey, you got to sink or swim in this house with banter. It said, you have to go with it and then give it back as well. But that's what I like about you, Don, as well, though, because this is what me and you do on a regular basis is giving each other shit, and that's what us Brits do, and I love getting up in someone's feelings and then watching them deteriorate sometimes. I'm like, it's a joke,
See, Mike, one thing you'll understand. I'm sorry, Chris, but Mike, one thing you'll understand is I'm very well acclaimed over in the UK, and the running joke is even though I'm American, Indian, and Irish, I'm not American. I actually am British because I really am. I can hang with the best of the people in the UK, and that's one thing that I really love about the UK people is they tell it exactly how it is, and they will get all up in your feelings and let you know. They don't give 2 shits about your feelings.
Yeah. And
being in this industry for 37 years, people don't realize I started working for the mob. And who are you going to cry to? It's just suck it up and do what the hell you're supposed to do. And then it transitioned into where women were running this sport. And now I got to deal with a bunch of skinny leg jean pant wearing 35, 36-year-old people running this damn business. And brother, I'll be damned if I'm going to let these little liberalites tell me what the hell I'm supposed to say and think when they can't even tell me the definition of a woman. That just freaking pisses me off. And I don't mean to make you choke, bro, but on the real, well, it's the truth, man. One thing you got to understand, your prime minister. I ain't even gonna start cracking on him, bro, because I love the people of the UK. But
say no more.
Our president can't even ride a freaking bike, and that's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, don't get me
started. Yeah, well, listen, we've got a pair of Muppets running both countries. Right, on that note, Mike, it's a pleasure to have met you. To get my words out here. Appreciate you giving us your time because I know you're a busy man. I look forward to the future of BYB, especially over here in the UK. And fingers crossed you can get it up here North Way, Liverpool, Manchester, because there are massive fight fans up there. Is there anything you'd like to say before you go? Anything you'd like to plug or anything?
I appreciate you guys and the opportunity to get, information on BYB out there for everybody. I'd say if you haven't seen what we're about, if you go to our YouTube channel, very easy, BYB Extreme, you can see all our events there. You can search. Our last event was BYB 10. That all our shows, BYB 9, 8, 7, they've all been exciting shows. And Mel has a hard task because every show's been better than the last. He's got to keep surprising us. But we do have another card coming in August 27th here in Doral. We'll be in London at the O2 Indigo on October 16th, then back to Florida in Tampa on November 19th. But in the meantime, tune in to BKB 27 on July 23rd. We're going to be having a couple of our fighters over there for that event and having a good time in the UK. And let me know. We'll send a train ticket for you, and you can come into October to the October show. Would love to meet you in person.
That'd be fantastic, Mike. I'd love to do that, mate. We'll keep in
Hey,
touch.
Mike, I want a hat for my birthday. My birthday's the 23rd. I want that BKB hat, bro.
All right, I'll bring one back for you. I'll bring
All
one
right.
back.
I'll see you in Doral, brother.
All right.
I'll see you in Doral. Love you, man. God bless you,
Thank
brother.
you.
Take it easy, Mike.
All right, same to you guys. Thank you.
Bye.
See you, mate.
Told you, man. He's a tremendous man. Even though I didn't let you talk at all.
No, you see, I know because again you're saying this, but I get in what I want to ask, and then I listen, and again, this is someone you know already, so I'm taking things in. So the next time we get the likes of Mike Vazquez or Nate White or Ken Shamrock in, I ask more questions because I know more.
Let's see if I can bring this in a little bit closer. I mean, there's Dota 5000. There's Mike Goldberg, Paulie Malignaggi, Claudia Trejo. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on. Benny, Ricardo, look him up. Tremendous organization. And
right. Yeah, come.
I was just saying it's just beautiful, bro. But the thing of it is, I know it's late for you. I know you got to work tomorrow.
Lovely.
But with that being said, with that being said, you're always number one in my book.
Aye. We are number one though, Don. Don't forget that.
Oh no, you're number one.
Both of us.
No. See, here, let's just clarify this. I don't care if Allison gets mad at you or not. Here, let's just clarify this real quick. All I did was show you what you already had inside. Did I bring guests to your show? Yes.
Yeah.
Did you interview them? Yes. So, in reality, all I did was help a brother up, give him a nudge, add a couple guests to your show. But you're the one that interviewed him. You're the one that did the job. So, mate, I'm not like all these other sons of bitches that want to take credit for everything.
Your mate Nate Redders wrote, "You look like Simon Pegg and Billy Bob Thornton did doing a podcast."
He does that shit to me on purpose. I'll tell you real quick. There was a gay cop in Oklahoma who pulled me over and was sitting there going, did anybody ever tell you look like Billy Bob Thornton? Get the fuck off me, you. But I'll never hear the end of it. My balls were busted all that weekend. They've been busted ever since. But the thing of it is, you deserve all the credit, bro. I did nothing but make you believe in yourself. That's the God's honest truth. I didn't have to fucking take the time to do the podcast with you. I didn't have to take the time. But I saw something in you when you had Liam on. And both you and your other host reached out to me. I only reached back to you because I believed in you. You're a tremendous young man at what you do. You've got a long, long future ahead of you. You are the future of the sport. With that being said,
yeah,
it's the truth. Right, with that being said, follow The Fighter's Voice with Don McGuire. Definitely. Follow Big Fight Weekly. You can catch me here and you can catch me there, but you can catch us everywhere. With that being said,
true. We'll see you soon. Take it easy, everyone.
God bless.